So good afternoon. My name's Mike Niehaus. For the next 75 minutes, we're going to talk about modern deployment with Windows Autopilot and Microsoft 365. How many of you were in the room last year when we talked about Autopilot? Good number. With Sid talking about a lot of it. I talked about it in kind of the deployment overview session, and then Sid went much deeper. This time around, we'll talk much more about how things have evolved since then. So we'll cover some of the basics, but we also want to get deeper into more of the scenarios that we've added and the capabilities that we've added to address your user feedback. We should start out, for those of you who weren't in the session last year, with kind of the general positioning and overview. Autopilot is all about trying to come up with solutions for problems that you may not even think of as problems. The old way of deploying machines is costly. You had to build an image, you had to gather drivers, you had to do all of this work to then deploy an operating system to a machine that shipped with a perfectly good operating system on it. So you're spending all of that time and effort just to get something that you've tweaked onto the box. Time, money, extra work that really isn't required. So our goal is to introduce a new way of doing that. Instead, we want to be able to take the device out of the box, not re-image it at all, and transform it into something that's ready for business. So we can layer all the necessary configuration on top of that core operating system that comes from the OEM pre-optimized to make sure that it works as good as possible on their hardware. It's much cheaper, and it opens up new scenarios and new capabilities, like let's just ship the device directly to the user and they can set it up themselves. IT doesn't need to touch the device at all. There are plenty of benefits that we can get out of changing this process. We already talked about images and drivers. That's the obvious one. We don't necessarily even need those anymore. IT doesn't have to touch the device. The process can be simple enough that the end user can do it themselves. That's really the promise. Now, in order to make that promise work, we need to integrate Autopilot into the supply chain so that at the time you buy the device from the OEM, the reseller, the distributor, whoever you get it from, they can say these devices belong to your organization, registering them with the Autopilot service so that when they show up, they know that they belong to your organization. They can receive instructions from the cloud that say, here are the steps that we should go through to provision this device. We like to think of Autopilot as a broader lifecycle solution as well, to make sure that we can cover the full life of the device, not just the new device provisioning process. So we also want to invest in scenarios around break-fix and retiring devices and repurposing devices for other users or other purposes. So you will see scenarios outside of that core new device process, but at least initially, our first scenarios were really targeting that new device. But if we think about the real benefit needs to target the end user. We need to have a process that the end user likes, that the end user can do themselves and be productive. We don't want them to dread getting a new device. I'm sure most of you have gotten a new device before and you think, great, I've got a new PC, but oh man, now I'm going to have to take the rest of the day to get all my apps back on it and set it up exactly the way I want it. We want to be able to eliminate that. We want all of that configuration to just flow down to the device. All of your data should come back down to the device. You shouldn't have to waste the rest of the day before you get productive again. We should be able to automate all that. Leveraging Intune, leveraging a mobile device management solution to configure the device, not just part of the way, but fully. So that's what we want to get to. From an IT perspective, we'll want to make sure that it's secured, that it can be configured without IT interaction. You don't need to touch the device, but the end user just wants to be productive. So what can we do to make them productive? So if we think about this from the IT perspective, we need to transform the device. How do we do that? Well, we start with that OEM-optimized Windows 10 pre-installed OS. That's typically Windows 10 Pro. We can step that up to Enterprise, no problem. You then layer on top of that all of your custom software load, which could include security suites, productivity applications, Office, everything else layered on top of that device. You then configure settings for the OS, like security baselines and things like that, to get the device secured and configured according to your standards. It needs to be updated, because odds are, since the time the device was manufactured, there have been new security updates released, so we need to install those on the machine. We may need to enable additional Windows features, like Application Guard or any other Windows feature that isn't enabled by default. We're obviously not going to tell the user, hey, please go into settings and click here, 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 here. We want to automate all of those pieces. And then lastly, we need to get the data onto that device again. Using OneDrive for Business, we can get the data into the cloud. That's the first step. The second step then is when you set up the new device, it should just appear. You shouldn't have to tell the user, click on the little cloud icon, add an account, type in your ID and password, and then it will sync. It should just be there. From the time that the device is initially set up, the data should show up. All of that then gets you to a point where you have a device that's ready for productive use. Now, it might take a little while for all of those pieces to flow down to the device, especially if you're pushing 17 different security products down to the device. The physics of all of the bits that need to flow down are going to play into that, but we want to be able to get all of that onto the device. So we thought it would be good to start off with just showing you what this process looks like. We don't want to talk for an hour and not show you the process overall, so we'll start with a demo of user-driven deployment, which is the scenario that was in Autopilot from the start. In the user-driven scenario, the idea is that the user is going to set up this device themselves. And our initial support was for joining the device into Azure Active Directory and enrolling it into Intune, and then Intune pushes the configuration down. We'll talk about another variation on that tomorrow, where we can join a device into Active Directory instead of into Azure AD, but for right now, I'm going to focus on the Azure AD case. So if I have a new OEM device, like my Surface Book here, I can have a generic Windows installation directly from the OEM loaded on this device. When it boots up, it'll ask me a few things, like what language do I want this OS to be in? In this case, my OS was only in English, so it didn't ask that question. It skipped to the next question, which is region. And yes, I need to choose my region and my keyboard layout, and a second keyboard layout, which I've never used, to get to a point where I can then connect the machine to a network. Because this machine needs to be able to get its instructions. Is this machine part of an organization? How should it be configured? How should it behave as part of this process? So I can specify that I want to connect it to a network. And once that connection is in place, the machine can talk to the Autopilot deployment service and download a profile of settings, which say exactly what organization this machine belongs to and how it should behave. So when I click Next, the next step would be to act on that. The profile that gets downloaded is used to customize the rest of the experience on the device. So it will get to a point where I need to type in my email address and password, wherever my device went. Oh, one other thing, it's rebooting itself. Give it a second, it'll come back. We'll talk about that in a moment. But it configures itself, and then it will ask for my user ID and password. I'll type those in, and it'll keep it going from there. While it's coming back up again, I should probably explain why it rebooted in the first place. One of the profile settings that was specified was a naming pattern for the device. So the device renamed itself, and the rename requires a reboot. So now it has the naming convention that I specified. But as it comes back up again, we'll get back onto the network and then be able to type in an ID and password. The naming capability is one of the new things we added for Windows 10 1809. We'll talk about that more as we go through here. So I need to reconnect to the network. And then we can continue on from there. So now we will see a logon page. The logon page is customized for your organization. And if you look closely at that, it's even customized for the user. So I pre-configured the user that this device belongs to so that we can give them a nice out-of-box experience. We can show that this is their device, that this has been set up specifically for them. Because it's been set up for them, I don't even have to type in an email address. It already knows the username. All I need is the password. So if I type in the password for Anna, the device can then finish the configuration. First step would be to join the device into Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory then triggers the automatic MDM enrollment. After that MDM enrollment is complete, we then start receiving policies to the device. So that you can track the progress of that, we'll display an enrollment status page that enables you to see that this device is still being configured. We want to keep you at this point until the device has been configured enough that you can get to the desktop and actually do something. You don't want to end up on the desktop while stuff is still happening, because the user's not going to really know what's going on. They might click and see, oh, Office isn't there yet, or some of the other things that they need to be productive aren't yet on the system. But if we can do all of the installations while the enrollment status page is being displayed, then we get into a much cleaner experience. When you get to the desktop, your device is configured and ready to go. Now, the amount of time that takes can vary greatly, depending on how much stuff you're pushing down to the device. If we have a lot of software, a lot of settings, that could take anywhere from kind of 5 minutes at the minimum up through potentially a couple of hours. In this case, I don't have that much being pushed to the device. I'm installing Office, a couple of expense app, productivity app, my Dynamics app. After that's done, the device signs on as the user for the first time, and then any user-specific configurations are targeted to the device. So after that first logon screen finishes flashing up, we then see the enrollment status page again while the user configuration is being done. In Intune, you could target policies to the machine. They get processed during the machine phase of the process. You can target them to users. They get processed during the user phase of the process. After all of that's done, then we finally see the desktop and go from there. So we'll let this one run for a little bit. We'll come back to it a little later just to see that we do have a fully configured device and our OneDrive for Business data is on it. We'll see how long that takes. So that's the basic experience. That's the first scenario that we did with Autopilot. We'll talk about the rest of them as we get deeper into this. But we thought it would also be good to give you some idea of how are companies using this? What benefits are they seeing? Why did they move to Autopilot? So I'm joined up on stage by Todd Loxley with Rockwell Automation. Todd, you want to introduce yourself and tell the audience why? Why'd you go to Autopilot?
Very well. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. So much as Mike laid the groundwork, last year we were here, we saw the announcements. We've been working closely with Microsoft for really in-depth on the client side for the last 3 years. And we were excited about the change in user experience. That's really our primary driver, the simplification, the benefits beyond that around our IT budgeting and costs and everything else is that just like I'm sure most of you, for the last probably 20 years, we've spent, I won't even say a number, but umpteen tons of money on taking PCs out of a box, wiping the perfectly good Windows bits that are on it, and putting our own copy of Windows on it for some reason. Obviously, there are some expectations around productivity for the end user and whatnot as far as getting them started. But certainly with MDM and the phone paradigm, say the last 4 or 5 years, we really had a penchant for why can't we experience the same thing on PCs that we're able to provide to end users on a phone experience? And so with Autopilot, that's obviously a reality. We've really been pushing hard this past year as part of our Windows 10 migration to try to leverage as much of Autopilot as we can. We do, again, like most of you, I'm sure, have a ton of legacy components in our IT environment and our corporate environment, right down to all those umpteen old apps that the business is still making money off of and still utilizing for specific business purposes. So we can't just abandon those. As Mike and I were talking prior to starting the session, we're looking at kind of a left foot on one side of the fence, right foot on one side of the fence. The earlier announcement and what will be covered in session or part 2 of this session tomorrow, we see that as a big complementary component, being able to do the hybrid join as opposed to just the pure AAD join. That allows us to service more of our end users in the same experience, but yet essentially putting them into kind of a legacy paradigm. But we're trying to embrace the modern vision that Microsoft has and the technologies that they're delivering in that regard as much as we can, just because it just makes Windows 10 easier, makes it a lot better from the standpoint of what the end user goes through. We've all gotten new PCs, right? And none of the precursor activities that make this desirable, right, is foreign to any of us. And as such, we really see those things as benefits for our end users, and we're pushing for services and functionality all around what that end user experience is like. So we actually worked really close with our OEM this past year in order to kind of overcome some of the earlier things with device registration and whatnot. Matter of fact, in Mike's session, Sid's session last year, I wasn't even out of the session, and I was texting our OEM saying, "Hey, you weren't on the slide. What's the deal with this?" But they've made up for that in a big way this year. We actually are able to work with them to essentially register all of our legacy devices, which is a huge step. We're doing a session tomorrow in the Expo Center where we can go into further details around that and kind of have a Q&A session and whatnot, get into some of the particulars that we overcame with device registration. But
yeah, and I think that's kind of the point where we're at this year. Last year when we were talking about this, most people were going through the harvesting process and trying out Autopilot on small numbers of devices where it's no big deal to run a script and collect a hash and
Right.
upload it, and we'll talk about all that process as we get into this. Now we're talking about going to scale. So working with OEMs, resellers, distributors to buy large batches of machines and getting those ready for autopilot by registering them at the factory.
Yeah, and to that point, in the last, I'll say 4 weeks, really somewhere around 3 weeks, we actually just ordered, again, I'll say a few thousand PCs, and I've gotten the confirmations that all of those devices, and we're talking global, so in all regions, we operate in over 80 countries, and those orders are all over the place, and I've gotten the confirmations that those devices are all registered, and they were all registered by our OEM Dell as part of the ordering process, the fulfillment process, I should say. So those are in various states. Yeah. So yeah, that's a big win. I mean, that's really the switch that turns it on for you, or for us in this case. So that is a big win for us. So that really enables that. Hey, take it out of the box. Don't worry about all that other labor and whatnot. Get the right credentials in it and start using it.
Okay. And we had also talked a little bit at the beginning, before we got started, that switching to Intune and using Intune to do the configuration of the device. Obviously, we've had plenty of announcements at the sessions already this week talking about additional Win32 software distribution capabilities, security, baseline support, ADMX-backed policy. So we're bulking up the capabilities there. But we also have co-management with Config Manager. So what are you thinking about doing for managing the devices, using Intune by itself, using Intune with co-management?
So we, as I said before, we kind of have this left side of the fence, right side of, 1 foot on each side of the fence kind of deal. We are co-management today, but we have a small segment of our population that we are looking to push towards modern, pure modern, which in my vernacular is AAD only, Intune managed. And obviously co-management is kind of all 4 pieces. It's AD on-prem, SCCM, as well as hybrid AAD joined with Intune enrollment. So the Win32 software in Intune, as well as the addition of MSIX on top of that, and ADMX template support and whatnot, I'm sure everybody's had the same struggle if you've looked at it. You got all this stuff in GPO, in AD, and gee, how do we effectively get essentially the same settings over in Intune and the modern side? One of the things that I kind of push back internally all the time is that we're not going to do it the same way we did it before. And that may sound like a little bit of Kool-Aid, so be it. But we're looking at, we have this requirement in our legacy environment. We continue to have that requirement in our modern environment, but we have to figure out how do we do it in a way that allows us to move forward in the modern environment, not just shoehorn in something that either next month update or next fall or spring's update means we have to go rework that thing. We're trying to get into a position all the time where essentially, IT internal resources are doing less and less, and we're leveraging our key partners like Microsoft and our suppliers in the IT space so that the function of IT and the cost of IT is actually what everybody's advertising, and we're driving that cost down, making it simpler and better for the end user.
Sounds great. So, to learn more about Rockwell Automation's experiences, Todd has a session tomorrow in a theater for 20 minutes talking about that, and we'll certainly be able to answer questions around the experiences that they have had with that. So thanks a lot.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
So let me see, where is our machine? We're at the desktop. If I open up File Explorer and look at documents, I have data. Looking at pictures, I have pictures. So everything has been brought down to the device and I'm ready to go. I could pick up where I left off on a file that I had saved 30 minutes ago on my old PC and be able to continue on my new PC without any issues. There is a session tomorrow morning on OneDrive for Business and what they've been doing to improve this, to be able to get to this type of behavior. So show up for that one. I'll actually be doing the demo during that one, so you'll get to see me for that one again. But that's the type of integration that we want to be able to see. We want to be able to have everything just work, using Intune to drive all of this. So let's talk then more about the how. We've shown you what it looks like. We've talked about the benefits. Let's go through step by step what we need to do to get ready for Autopilot. 3 basic steps. We need to register the devices. That makes the devices associated to your organization and configured with a profile of settings. Profile of settings says how the device should behave. When it's first turned on, what should we show, what should we not show, and then as it gets into the Intune process, what configuration needs to be pushed down to the device. At that point, we can send the device directly to the end user with a simple set of instructions that explain to them what they need to do. Those instructions are pretty much get the device out of the box, plug it in, turn it on, click next, 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 connect it to a Wi-Fi network, type in your ID and password, and off you go. Sit back, watch the machine set itself up. You'll be ready to go in no time. So let's walk through those 3 steps. Well, first, let's talk a little bit about where you'll go through some of these steps. Administration-wise, we've created multiple portals for defining devices to Autopilot. So you upload them depending on who you are in one of 4 different places. I'm going to assume that most of the people in the room here are enterprise customers. Who in the room is an enterprise customer? All right, that's a pretty good assumption. Therefore, you want to use Intune. We do have 3 other portals, but those portals are more targeted. Microsoft 365 Business Portal is primarily for small and medium businesses, less than 300 seats. If you're using that subscription, then you can add and maintain your Autopilot devices directly in the Microsoft 365 Business Portal. Partner Center Portal is primarily used by distributors and resellers and those types to add devices to your organization on your behalf. So you'll see that come up when you start working with other channel partners. Microsoft Store for Business then was our initial portal, but we've since transitioned most of that into Intune. So there shouldn't be any need to use Microsoft Store for Business for maintaining Autopilot devices, unless maybe you're working with some other MDM service. Obviously, if you're not an Intune customer, you need some place to do those administrative actions. So the Microsoft Store for Business is still there for those. So here, we're going to focus primarily on Intune as we're going through these steps, but just keep in mind that there are other portals that you'll see referenced in the docs and in other places. So step 1, registering devices. The easiest way to register devices is to have someone else do it. So we've been working to get those someone else's all lined up to support doing that for you. We're now up to 5. If you remember last year, we had, I think, 6 icons on the screen for 6 different OEMs, and one of those 5 that was completed up there wasn't on the slide. So we now have 5 that are completely ready to go. We actually published an update to our Autopilot website yesterday, which is where this screenshot comes from, and a blog that went along with that talked about these OEMs having support for placing an order and being able to register those devices to your organization. One other note that was in there was coming soon, Dell will be able to do this for free. So place an order, they'll add the devices, no charge. So certainly goodness coming down that path, and we have other OEMs that will join that list shortly, so we're continuing to work on that. We expect to update this list soon, too, to also include the resellers, the distributors, and the other partners that are willing to perform these services as well. So expect that to grow, but certainly check out the website, and it will tell you more. But let's talk more about what types of things that OEM distributor or reseller is going to do for you. They're going to add the devices to the Azure, really to the Autopilot deployment service, at the time they process your order. When they do that, they'll actually tag the device with the purchase order ID. So all the devices, when they show up in Intune, will have an attribute on them to say which purchase order that went to. So you can use that purchase order ID to group them in Intune, which is convenient. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. You can also specify a tag that you would like for them to put on the devices. So if you wanted to do some custom grouping, you could do that as well. Like maybe you want all laptops that they ship to have a laptop tag, and all desktops have a desktop tag, so that you can group them by those as well. So you get those options. You may also request from the OEMs to provide a pre-installed image that doesn't have any extra stuff, any of the preloaded trialware that tends to come on a PC. Now, the different OEMs have different opinions on what should be preloaded on the devices. So you might have to ask nicely in some cases. You might have to pay them a little bit in some other cases. So just be aware that if you want to have a nice, simple experience, it's good to start with a nice, clean OS. We do have a couple of OEMs that already ship all their commercial devices with the clean OS. We're still working on the others. If you don't have the OEM reseller or distributor do this, you can do this on the back end. Like, let's say you want to use existing devices. You can harvest the ID from those existing devices and then use that to register them. But going machine to machine and running a PowerShell script and capturing details from the machine itself and then uploading that is a bit of a pain. So one of the scenarios that we'll talk about tomorrow is for reusing existing devices via config manager task sequence. So as part of that, we can deploy the device without even registering it. We can use it with Autopilot, and then Intune will automatically see that this new device hasn't yet been registered and take care of doing it after the fact. So that simplifies matters. This would also be possible if you had existing Windows 10 devices that you've deployed that are Intune managed, but weren't deployed using Autopilot initially. Maybe you just want to do it just in case you ever want to reset the machine. If the machine breaks, you could do a PC reset and have it go through the Autopilot process after the reset. So Intune can grab the IDs from the machine, add them to Autopilot, automatically associate a configuration profile with them, so you don't have to do anything. That's coming soon. That's not enabled today. Hopefully within the next week or two, that one will show up. But definitely try that one out. It's really just a yes/no question on the Autopilot profile. Any device then that ends up in the groups that profile is assigned to will automatically get registered on the fly. Now, you still can do the manual approach, which is great for testing. It's just not something that really scales to thousands of devices, because to do that, you need to have a machine that's running Windows 10, 1703 or higher. You need a PowerShell script that grabs the hardware details from WMI on the machine, writes it to a CSV file that you can then upload to the Intune portal. So it's not hard to do, but it does require touching every single machine. But For testing, great. For virtual machines, great. For all of your initial kicking of the tires, look at this. But when you get to scale deployments, then you want to start talking to your OEMs, distributors, resellers, so on. Step 2 then, you want to assign the profile. Imagine having bought 3,000 machines. They've now been added to your Autopilot list via the OEM doing it for you. Well, the OEM doesn't assign a profile. That's more of an administrative task for the customer. You really don't want to have to go in, though, and assign a profile to each of those 3,000 devices. Really tedious. So what we've done to simplify that is to have Intune do it for you. First step, we need a profile. So you have to create a profile. When you do that, you can specify the deployment mode. So we've got user-driven deployment, which is what we've showed so far. We'll talk tomorrow about doing a self-deploying mode and the hybrid Azure AD support. So you configure those options as part of the profile. You specify specific settings that correspond to those deployment modes. And then you can configure what the out-of-box experience should look like. So it's not a huge amount of settings that you configure, but it does give you some control over what's shown and what isn't shown. If you look carefully, you might see that there are some new options available, like being able to turn on BitLocker encryption even for non-administrators. New in 1809, was very difficult to do in previous releases. We can do some things to suppress the change account option so that you can't escape out of UBI. We can do some things to name the devices, which is why my machine rebooted earlier, to apply the new device, the new computer name. So new options getting added into there to give you more flexibility on how that configuration is put in place. But you give that profile of settings a name, you save it, and then that gets applied to the individual machines. Like I said, we want to automate that. So we want to be able to build Azure AD groups and then target that Autopilot profile to the Azure AD group. Intune then takes care of the rest. It will periodically look at the membership of that group and say, oh, there's some new machines in that group that don't have a profile assigned yet. I'll automatically assign that. So you don't have to do any administration other than getting the right computers into the right groups. Now, if you use dynamic groups, you don't even have to put the machines into a group. You just build a dynamic query that specifies what computers should be in that group, and it's completely automated. As soon as the OEM adds another batch of computers into the Autopilot deployment service, that automatically creates Azure AD objects for each one of those with the attributes configured on them, and then the dynamic group picks them up, and Intune applies the profile. So that's the ideal scenario. That's what we want to get to. If you don't want to do dynamic groups, you can still manually put computers into groups and then assign profiles to those groups as well. So there is a lot of flexibility on how you do that. But we want to take a little bit closer look at how you would do that with dynamic groups. In the simplest case would be, I want the exact same Autopilot profile applied to every single Autopilot registered machine. To do that, I can create a group and put in a query that selects all the devices based on an attribute that only exists on Autopilot registered devices. So I can give the group a name, all Autopilot devices, say that it's a dynamic device group, and put in a query. Now this query is in the documentation, but basically it says there is a ZTD ID tag on every single Autopilot registered device that's put onto the Azure AD object. So create a group that contains all the machines that have that tag. After a little bit of time, Azure AD evaluates that query and selects all the rules that, or selects all the devices that meet those rules. So that would be the simplest case, all Autopilot devices. We could do the same thing based on that purchase order ID that the OEM configures. Really the same thing over again. We can create a group, we can give it a name, we can specify again membership type of a dynamic device group, and then specify a query that only selects machines from that purchase order. So we put in an advanced rule where we say, give me all the devices where they have an order ID of a certain number. The next step then would be assign a profile. So we have the profile, we have the group. Now we just need to tell Intune, tie these together. So we go into Intune to the profile itself, which we'd have to create initially, but these are already created. We create the profile with the needed settings, but then we can go to assignments and specify one or more groups that that profile should be assigned to. We can select one of the groups that we created before, like all Autopilot devices. Select that, save the changes, and now Intune will constantly look at that group to see, are there any new devices? If so, I'll assign the profile to those devices. So that could be all the administration you ever need to do for devices. You create the Autopilot profiles you want, you assign them to the groups, you create groups with the right queries, and you're done. Now you just tell the OEM when you order devices, please put them with the right purchase order ID, with the right tag into our tenant, and the rest will just happen. The third step then, obviously, is to just deploy. We need to get the device to the user. The user can go through the simple steps that we talked about. The basic flow then is to have the Autopilot profile created. The IT admin does that via Intune. That gets synced from Intune into the Autopilot deployment service. We then need to get the devices registered, which we want the hardware vendor to do. So the OEM adds them to the Autopilot deployment service, associating them to your organization. Those devices get synced into Intune and Azure AD, where you can then assign a profile of settings to them using the techniques that we had looked at. The device can then be shipped to the employee. When the device boots up for the first time, it will check with the Autopilot deployment service to see, does this device belong to an organization? So if you think about that a little bit, there's a person who asked me a question last night about that, which I just kind of take for granted. They said, well, does that mean that every Windows 10 device checks in with the Autopilot deployment service as soon as it gets a network connection? Why, yes, it does. The device will check in, and if it's not registered to Autopilot, it goes through the normal flow of UBI. So it's probably a consumer device or some other non-Autopilot deployment, so it goes through normal stuff. But if it gets back a profile saying it's registered to an organization and it has a profile associated with it of these settings, then it goes through a different behavior with the customized UI and the customized experience. So prerequisite-wise, we initially introduced support for Autopilot in Windows 10 1703. Now, as we've added new scenarios and new capabilities, higher versions may be required. But at least 1703, with the scenarios that we'll talk about tomorrow, they're all based on Windows 10 1809. So the 1809 release that's coming out in the next couple of weeks would be the one that you would want for those. You then need some specific capabilities that are provided in multiple ways. We need some features of Azure Active Directory, and we need an MDM service, obviously. So the features of Azure Active Directory that we need are automatic MDM enrollment, so that when a device is joined into Azure AD, it automatically enrolls in Intune or whatever other MDM you configured. We also need the ability to do custom company branding so that we can display the customized logon page. Those capabilities for most enterprises are provided through either Azure AD Premium, an EMS E3 or E5 license, or a Microsoft 365 Enterprise E3 or E5 license. So you're covered if you've got any of those. It's also possible to use Microsoft 365 Business, which we talked about before, for small and medium businesses, because those specific Azure AD capabilities are included in that subscription. And it's possible to use Microsoft 365 F1 for first-line workers, which also includes those same capabilities. So any of those work. We just need those capabilities to make the process work. You then need to go through some initial configuration tasks, like configuring automatic MDM enrollment, something you go through once to specify anytime a device joins into Azure Active Directory, it should enroll in this MDM service. So you basically put in the URLs for the MDM service that you're using. You configure company branding. You have to put in, you can put in a custom square logo to use on the sign-on page, custom text to put on the page to say, if you need any help, call this number. And you can put in, the company name. So the company name is specified as a property on the Azure AD tenant. It'll display the company name, the custom logo, and the custom text on the sign-on page. But you need to configure that the first time through. I mentioned before that a device typically would ship with Windows 10 Pro. You may want to step it up automatically to Windows 10 Enterprise so that you can take advantage of the enterprise features. We can do that automatically leveraging Windows subscription activation. With subscription activation, you assign a Windows 10 Enterprise E3 or E5 license in Azure AD to a user or group of users. So then anytime that user signs on to a Windows 10 Pro machine, it magically becomes Enterprise. No reboot, no time delay or anything like that. As soon as they log in, it sees that license and steps up to Enterprise. We've also made sure that when that happens, that we realize that, ooh, you're now running a new SKU of Windows that has new capabilities. That might mean there's new policies that can be applied from Intune to configure those new features. So we will push those new settings down to the device as soon as that happens. We also need the ability for users to join devices to Azure AD. Obviously, if I'm starting up a device and typing in email address and password, that user is then going to join its device into Azure AD. So if you've configured Azure AD so that no user can join a device, well, the process isn't going to go very far. So you do need to allow at least any user that you expect to deploy a device using Autopilot, you need to grant them the ability to join Azure AD. On the Intune side, there are a few things that you need to do at least once. You need to enable the enrollment status page. It's pretty simple. We'll take a look at that in a minute. You need to make sure that those same users can enroll devices in Intune. That one has some interesting tweaks that have been introduced by Intune recently. You can actually put in a device restriction, an enrollment restriction to say only Autopilot registered devices can enroll in Intune. If you put that rule in place, then if they take a personal device and try to join it into AAD, which triggers an MDM enrollment, and the device isn't registered to Autopilot, the enrollment will fail, the AAD join will fail, their personal device will stay out of your corporate environment. So that's good. Try that one out. So the enrollment status page then was what we saw in the user-driven deployment scenario to display progress. It goes through the 3 phases of the deployment: device preparation, device setup, and then after the user signed in for the first time, the account setup. So you configure that once so that we can hold on that screen until the process is done. There's a variety of reasons that you might want to do that, like making sure that the device meets company standards with the right security software installed, the right policies in place, the right certificates installed. So we can do all of that before the user can be able to access the desktop. We've also added the ability to unlock the machine if it's shipped in S mode. So you could buy a machine from an OEM with Windows 10 Pro pre-installed in S mode. How many of you know what S mode is? Ooh, I guess I should explain what S mode is. S mode is basically a secured OS that can't install any software that didn't come from the Windows store, from the Microsoft store. So if you tried to install whatever Win32 installer that you have in your config manager infrastructure, as an example, they'll fail because it will only install code signed by the store. Great, as long as all your apps are in the store. If they're not, obviously that's not going to be a terribly useful device. But we've made sure that if you buy devices in S mode, which has some security benefits, you can make sure they're not tampered with by any third-party software that might have been put on the device before you got it. But once it's received, you could then automatically unlock it. So we've made sure to synchronize that process, to sequence that process as part of the enrollment status page, to change it from S mode to non-S mode, so that you can then install whatever software you want after that point. The enrollment status page itself requires Windows 10 1803 or above. It needs Azure Active Directory Premium and Intune to enable, but we've already covered those, so really nothing new there. So as long as you're running 1803, you want to turn this on to see it show up as part of the process. Now, to enroll it, we can go into the Intune console and specify the settings that we wanted to use. So we can click on the link under Windows Enrollment. And then we can customize the behavior. Right now in Intune, there's just one global setting that's used for all users, but we are working on improving that as well so that you can target this to different groups. But we need to specify that we want to show progress, that we want to block and not prevent the user from skipping out by saying, yeah, go ahead. We can say what to do in case of errors. We can put in custom messages for errors. We can specify a timeout. So if it takes longer than, say, 60 minutes, go ahead and let the user onto the desktop. And we can specify just those basic type of capabilities at this point. Now, we do have some plans for enhancing this as we move forward to provide even more capabilities. Tanvir will talk more about that one tomorrow as part of our roadmap conversation. But once that's configured, now all the autopilot deployments will show this automatically as part of the process. So let's talk about scenarios then. And we started off with one, the user-driven AAD scenario. That's what we demoed initially. But we've got several others. We've got two scenarios around an autopilot reset. We'll talk more about what each of these is as we get deeper into the conversations, but let's just do a quick 1-minute overview of each one of these. Windows Autopilot Reset. Locally, we added the ability to do that in Windows 10 1709. The basic concept behind an autopilot reset is that you want to reset the OS to get rid of any garbage that might have piled up on the machine. Extra apps, extra tweaks, whatever. The reset will get rid of all of that. It'll discard all of the apps, all the data, everything but the MDM enrollment, the Azure AD join details, and the options that were picked during UBI as far as language and keyboard and locale, and some of the details around the network connections. So you do this autopilot reset, and you end up with a fully managed device afterwards. You don't have to go back through UBI. You don't need to type in anything. You just end up at a logon screen. So the device is then ready to be used by the next person. They walk up to it, they put in their ID and password, it signs them on, and off they go. Initially, the thinking was, hey, this would be great for schools because After a semester of classes, the machines might get to a point where they need to start over. But there are certainly enterprise scenarios for doing this as well. The thing that we were missing, though, was, hey, how do you do this remotely? So we wanted to be able to do it from Intune as well. With Windows 10 1809, we'll be able to do it remotely so that you can go into the console, click a button, and initiate that from MDM. So we'll talk a little bit more about reset as we get into this, the ending part of this session. The other three scenarios, for those of you who remember the session last year that Sid talked about, one of these didn't even exist in the roadmap that we laid out. That last one, Windows Autopilot for existing devices. That one was conceived and delivered since, well, after the last Ignite. But let's go through each one of those. Self-deploying mode. Simple idea. We have a device that isn't really associated with the user. That could be for one of a few different purposes. It could be just a shared device, that there's no primary user of that device. It could be used by people at a help desk or a call center or in a school or someplace where anyone can walk up, put in their credentials, and use the device. Great. Well, we don't necessarily then need to ask for user credentials during the initial setup. In fact, we don't need to ask for anything. If this is a self-deploying device, if it's not associated with the user, let's just deploy it. So as part of that, we can eliminate all user interaction. We'll still show the progress as the device is being set up, but as soon as that device is plugged in, turned on, and connected to a network, hands off, completely zero touch from that point. Hybrid Azure AD join, we've mentioned a couple of times. This would be the exact same scenario as that user-driven mode, but user-driven into Active Directory instead of into Azure Active Directory. So we'll join the device to your on-prem domain rather than to Azure AD. We'll go through a full flow of what that looks like and how that works in tomorrow's session. And then, again, Windows Autopilot for existing devices. This is really targeting those Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 devices that are typically managed by Config Manager today, probably joined to Active Directory, managed by Config Manager. Now you want to deploy Windows 10 to them, but then have them go through the autopilot process. So the machine boots up for the first time into Windows 10 and immediately displays the autopilot experience, asking you for your Azure AD credentials, going through the enrollment status page, fully configuring the device after joining it to AAD and enrolling it in MDM. If you think about how that would have worked today, because we have customers that have tried to do that with the existing functionality, you'd have to go through some extra hoops to get the hardware hash from the device that you could upload it to the autopilot deployment service and then assign it a profile through Intune so that you could then turn around and deploy Windows 10 to it. Well, to get the hash, you had to already deploy Windows 10 to it. So it was kind of weird. You had to go from Windows 7 to Windows 10 and then immediately either reset or re-image the device to deploy Windows 10 again so that you could then go through autopilot. But we can simplify all of that, and we'll talk about how in tomorrow's session. So let's go through a little bit more for the user-driven deployment scenario, the one that I started off with demoing. Again, it was the first one added in 1703 or higher. We have the standard licensing requirements for that, so we don't need to focus much more on that. The goal overall is that this could be done by the end user. They are going to be asked for Azure AD credentials. Those would be used for authentication, as well as joining Azure AD and enrolling in MDM. We do have one of the options available in the autopilot profile to specify whether the user should end up an admin or not. If your goal is to have non-admins in your organization, this would be how you do it. Just specify in the profile that they shouldn't get admin rights, and autopilot will set up the device that way. Now, you can still sign into the device with other tenant admin accounts so that you can get admin rights to the machine, but the user setting them up the machine themselves wouldn't have those rights. This isn't typically applicable to shared devices. Again, we want to use the other scenarios that we talked about, the self-deploying device for the shared devices. That other scenario also happens to be useful for kiosks and digital signage, so we'll talk more about that tomorrow to get into those additional scenarios too. So the basic steps are what we've already been through. We need to register the device. We assign a user-driven autopilot profile. We then boot the device, connect it to a network, and put in the AAD credentials to configure or to authenticate and join. Now, we can take a brief look at the settings that I had put in for the device that we already deployed. So if I go into Intune, into device enrollment, and then to Windows enrollment, I can look at deployment profiles. And I have a user-driven profile here, which has settings configured to specify that the end-user license agreement should be hidden, that we shouldn't show any privacy pages. We should try our best not to allow them to skip out of the process. Now, there is the kind of the initial challenge of the machine doesn't get the autopilot profile until it's connected to a network. So if the user never connects it to a network, we never get the autopilot setting, so this would not do any good in that case, but it's available after that point. For S-Mode, the S-Mode devices actually always require an internet connection. You can't skip out of making a network connection, so it would always work for S-Mode devices. You can specify the account type, should it be a standard user or an administrator. And then the newest option that's just showed up in the last couple of weeks that works with Windows 10 1809 is to be able to apply a computer naming template. So I can put in a pattern to say whatever prefix I wanted. In this case, I use CMN- as a naming prefix, and then appended to that a 10-digit random number. You could use the serial number if you wanted, but it's those types of naming patterns that we can specify today. What we've discovered as we've talked to customers is there is no convention that works for all customers for naming devices, because you've all come up with some of the most bizarre naming conventions I've ever seen. So we know that we need to do some more to make that a little bit more flexible. Our goal longer term is to enable you to specify explicitly, here's the name for every computer. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, that one's up to you, but the idea would be that you could script that to be able to specify in Intune, here's the name for every single device. So those are the settings that are available. I had assigned that to a group of non-kiosk devices. That group contained the device that I deployed. If we look at the device configuration, first machine here is my Surface Book that we deployed. If I select that, we can see that it was pre-configured for Anna at contosomn.com, which is why it said welcome Anna instead of just welcome to Contoso. So you can put in the UPN for the user and also a friendly name that should be displayed. Now by default, we would populate that friendly name with the display name from Azure Active Directory. But in some countries, that's not actually the right thing to do. So if you needed to do something different, like in Japan, you could overwrite this. You could type in whatever you wanted to have displayed when that device boots up for the first time. So once that's assigned, once the profile has been configured, the device is ready to deploy. At that point, it's all about the configuration that's been done in Intune around device compliance, device configuration, and apps. All of that gets pushed down to the device. Certainly check out all of the other Intune sessions, especially around Win32 app deployment, to learn more about the Intune management extensions and how they're extending those capabilities. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Autopilot Reset then. We do have the two options. The end result is the same in both of those cases. We'll remove all the apps, all the settings, all the personal files, but we'll keep the Azure AD join and the MDM enrollment. So no orphaned objects in AAD or Intune. We'll continue to use the same ones. It will preserve any provisioning packages that were pre-installed in the OS if you're doing that with setup school PCs or Windows Configuration Designer. Those are kept around. We'll keep track of the keyboard language and Wi-Fi settings, but otherwise, everything's wiped clean. Takes 20 to 30 minutes to bring the device back up to a point where you can sign back into it. In Windows 10 1709, you can initiate that via a keystroke. Windows Control-R. Once you do that, it comes up with an authentication prompt. You had to type in an admin account to say, yes, I really do want to reset this device. Now, you probably don't want that enabled for every device in your organization because IT people can be mischievous. I'm sure you'd walk up to someone's PC, hit the keystroke, type in an ID and password, and run. But we do have a policy that needs to be configured on the device to enable this. So if you try it and nothing happens, well, you have to enable that policy first. The remote piece is new for Windows 10 1809, but then you just have a remote action inside of Intune where you select the device in question and then click on Autopilot Reset, and it sends the reset command down to the device. Now, someone had asked me earlier today, it's like, hey, I went to try this, and the option was grayed out. Well, remember, this requires Windows 10 1809. So if you're running a current Insider build, great, it'll be enabled. If you're running Windows 10 1803 or earlier, it gets grayed out. Intune's smart. It knows what OS version you're running. If we want to try this, since I just built this machine, I can probably reset it too. We can go back into the Intune console on the right machine, find the device in question by going to Devices, and hopefully we can find the right one. I know that it starts with CMN and a random number. Fortunately, I've only got one, so we'll select that one. And scroll over to More Actions to do an Autopilot Reset. Are you sure? Yes, I really do want to do that. It's my test tenant. Fortunately, I have no real devices in here, so that's a pretty safe operation. But that will send the command down to the machine, and it should then reboot after a short period of time to initiate that process. So we'll see. It will keep track. It'll eventually come back and say, that's what's going on. And guess what? There's a black machine indicating my machine just rebooted itself. So that's not terribly exciting. But that's what's supposed to happen. It initiates the reset and will come back up shortly. So that's what we wanted to cover in part one. Lots of background, lots of nuts and bolts on how we go about doing this, and some discussions around the existing scenarios and the new remote reset capabilities. Tomorrow, we'll go into the other three sessions. So I'll hand it over to Tanveer for that session, where we can talk about self-deploying mode, Windows Autopilot for existing devices, and, I'm drawing a blank, hybrid Azure AD support. So you can join devices to Active Directory. So hopefully we'll see you back then. If anyone has any questions, why don't you come up front? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to hear with the crowd.